Hi everyone, I'm Josh.
And I'm Jim, and this is the Dapper Meeple.
This show is about our love of gaming, the games we play, and the gaming community around this passion.
So grab some snacks, pull up a chair, and join us at the table with your monocle and bowler hat. Hey kids, remember, this is an adult podcast and may contain adult language.
Also, the Dapper Meeple outfit, not required.
Hey, have you guys heard about our really awesome giveaway? It's happening right now on our Facebook and our Instagram, so go find that post, baby.
We'll also be talking about a new convention starting up in our neck of the woods, a delicious crossover between Dragon's Milk and D&D, and also how the Hasbro CEO is competing for the BBEG of the year.
We've also got our first guest of the season. Chris is a game designer, an engineer, and a licensed falconer, and he's going to be here to tell us all about it.
All of that and more on this episode of the Dapper Meeple.
Hey, we want to start off by reminding everybody that we're giving away stuff.
Yeah, we have 8 prize packs that we're giving away to lucky winners, and it's super easy to win. All you have to do is go on our Facebook and Instagram, find the giveaway post, and make your comment.
That's it. Just do what you normally do every day, perhaps a little less sarcastic. Let us know what your favorite game is, whether it be a TTRPG, whether it be a board game, and who you want to play it with. Most of the answers so far have been family and friends, but if you want to play Catan with Lewis and Clark, we're down for it.
Yeah, just break out the time machine. We got this.
So the way we're going to do this is when we draw the names, we're going to draw them from our Facebook and Instagram after it closes on October 4th.
Then we will randomize all the names and draw out 8 winners. In the order they're drawn out, they will be allowed to choose which prize pack they want. Sorry, number 8, you get what you get.
But who knows? Maybe somebody doesn't want a custom wooden book dice tower to roll their dice in, along with the 2024 Player's Handbook from Wizards of the Coast. You may get lucky. We've been talking about this for a while, and we're finally getting it kicked off in celebration of our 50th episode.
Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, go take a listen. We talk about our Gen Con escapades and all the people we got to meet, along with a couple other cool things about our 50th episode.
So head over there now, find the posts, make your comments, and good luck. So with that out of the way, let's start talking about what else is going on. We have a new convention happening in Williamsburg, Virginia. That's like an hour away from where we are right now, and we thought we would tell you guys a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we are talking about Burgquest. So this is the first year that it's happening. It's basically a board game and TTRPG convention that's going to have, of course, opportunities to play games, a couple of guest speakers. There's going to be, it looks like all around good time.
It's a smaller convention, but looking over what they've got as far as programming, first of all, free play tabletop library, and that's powered by MagFest. They've got the Triforce Quartet, which is a traditional strings quartet that is playing video game music. Goblins and Growlers, which is a group that have been putting on free game days at places like breweries, restaurants, theaters, stuff like that. One of the big ones that I am hoping that we get a chance to get up there, but Pushing Dragons, which is a Dungeons and Dragons live play kind of theater experience, is going to be there as well.
Yeah, that actually looks really cool as well. I know Flagbearer Games is going to be there as well, which we've talked about them before. There's some friends of ours that we have met. We really enjoyed their Nations and Cannons game that we got the supplement for.
Somebody that we've recently gotten to talk to, the Rogue DM, is going to be running games up there as well. So if you're in this local area and you haven't gotten enough conventions, I think this is really one of our first big gaming conventions in the area.
Yeah, because we've had a few Comic-Cons that happen every year, like Tidewater and Hampton, but not true tabletop gaming conventions.
We've got GalaxyCon that happens up in Richmond and then down in Raleigh, which aren't too bad of a drive. But again, those are more Comic-Con-y. Is that a word?
Sure, it is now.
It is now.
Brought to you by the Dapper Meeple.
We're going to trademark that too. But yeah, as far as board game conventions go on the East Coast, especially right here in the middle, feels like everything else is a drive.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be excited to see. Hopefully, this one goes well and hopefully continues to grow and get bigger every year. It would be nice to have a pretty good sized convention this close to home.
And they're really going for it too. It's a 3-day convention, and the convention runs till 2 a.m. At least that's what the schedule is for Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, wow.
At least they just come out and be honest with it.
That's true.
Gen Con's, oh, we close the hall at 6, and then it just doesn't stop. There's just plenty of gaming that keeps happening. So,
everyone just knows that. Though.
Yeah. So really cool. Like I said, Williamsburg, and it's sponsored by the city of Williamsburg.
Yeah, which is also cool.
Yeah, there's some add-on packages you can get where you can do tours of Williamsburg, kind of the touristy stuff that happens up there.
Yeah, the colonial Williamsburg side,
Mm-hmm.
which I went to when I was in the 7th grade. It was quite wonderful. You should all go try it out.
The good news is nothing has changed.
Yeah.
It's still colonial Williamsburg.
Some say it's even the same actors. It's crazy. But no, it seems really cool. I'm excited to have something like that pretty close. Excited to see where it goes, too. This being the first year, I hope they have awesome attendance. And yeah, we'll see. We'll report back next year.
I'm hoping we get a chance to hit up there next weekend, but we will see how life goes. And in case it doesn't go well, you know what really makes up for it? Dragon's milk. I'm talking straight from the dragon teat. You know what I'm saying?
Now I want to have a RPG campaign that's built around
milking dragons.
Yes. That's the whole campaign.
So if you guys don't know, New Holland Brewing Company has for years been making this stout that is known as Dragon's Milk. Like originally it was like a coffee flavored stout. It's thick with 2 C's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so they just announced a new partnership for a new stout flavor and a new bourbon flavor in partnering with Dungeons and Dragons.
Which it seems like this is a partnership that should have happened a while ago.
Yeah, I really feel like there were some opportunities missed, but the company Dragon's Milk has a lot of really cool flavors already. Looking at the s'mores bourbon, like that sounds fantastic, as well as I think they have an apple crisp one as well. So not to mention all the different flavors of stouts that they have.
There's a s'mores stout.
Yeah.
There's a Tales of Gold, which is a golden ale with milk sugar. And the alcohol content on these is, you were talking like double Bud Light. You know what I mean?
Yeah, without the horse piss flavor.
Because again, straight from the dragon teat. You can't get that anywhere else, people.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what these are. They haven't officially announced the flavors yet. They've just talked about the partnership. So we will definitely be keeping an eye out on this one when it comes out, because we are fans of alcohol straight from dragon teats.
You can't beat it. There are so many great partnerships and different types of breweries and distilleries that are coming out with D&D based alcohol. Look at Matthew Lillard has the Quest Inlined. They just came out, I think it was with the Warlock. They've done the Paladin. Kate Welsh has actually come out with some. The people over at Critical Role have done their own like small batch whiskeys. Yeah. So it's a great time right now if you're older and you have money and like TTRPGs and alcohol. Again, us geeks got old and we got grown-up money, and this is what we're going to do with it.
So let's talk about some of the not so good wins for D&D that are happening lately.
So I guess it almost wouldn't be a show without having to talk about Wizards of the Coast and them trying to find ways just to be evil. I don't know if it's evil or just capitalist.
No, that's fair. So we're talking about the newest scandal about surrounding D&D Beyond. Of course, as you all know, the Player's Handbook for 2024 previewed at Gen Con. We were able to get our hands on a couple. One of them is in our giveaway. But D&D Beyond recently announced some updates that were going to be coming to the platform, which have some negative effects on players who are looking to still use the original 5e rule set.
So, and this happens every time there's a new edition. There are people who have played for years and we've got the rules memorized. We don't want to learn a new edition, or maybe they don't want to learn a new edition right away. Either way, they shouldn't have to convert if they don't want to. I feel like a big part of running tabletop games is the fact that you can do what you want, use the rule system that you want, house rule stuff. But then all of a sudden, if you have moved on to this digital platform, the stuff that you know just isn't available or isn't easily available.
And for those of you who aren't familiar with D&D Beyond's platform, it basically takes all the rule sets and makes character creation fairly easy. It turns it into basically drag and drop into creating your character sheets, which those of you who have ever handwritten character sheets know how wonderful that sounds. It is behind a paywall for a lot of things to try and get the content from various books, but a lot of people have gone into D&D Beyond and purchased the whole collection of books, and it's all digital for them. So whereas you and I, we've had this discussion before, we enjoy the tactile feeling of having the books, the way they look on the shelf, all those sorts of things. For us, it's much more of an investment at this point to try and move over to that digital platform.
It would be double dipping and buying the same thing that we have over and over again.
Yes, which I'm sure Hasbro would appreciate, but there we are. With the newest scandal that's come out, what it has done is made the character creation options difficult for importing the 5e edition stats, spells, all that sort of thing. So players who want to continue using the 5e rule set are going to have troubles filling out character sheets, updating character sheets, and that sort of thing.
For the 2014 rules.
Right.
They really converted over to the 2024 rule set, which right now the PHB is the only thing that's out. So they do say that it's backwards compatible, but you can't tell me it's backwards compatible and then take away all of my options for backwarding.
So we'll see if this sticks or if it ends up getting rolled back as more content is added for the new rule set. It's tough to say which way that Wizards and Hasbro will roll on this.
I think it's really going to be difficult too, because again, the CEO of Hasbro has come out in interviews and basically said that their intention is to take D&D and I believe Magic as well and go full digital with it.
It's tough because for Magic anyway, you have the Arena platform, which has actually done really well and is very streamlined compared to the old Magic Online format. There are still limitations to it, but as far as where technology has come, it's actually pretty good.
And I've played on it before, not having been a Magic player, and it was easy, right? One of the biggest things that always turned me off about Magic and most trading card games like that is just that I felt like I was so far behind because I haven't made a collection of at least 5 or 6 binders of cards. And even if I did, I wouldn't know what to do with most of them.
And there are a few kind of fixes for that, but I feel like losing out on the in-person experience, not Magic so much, but definitely D&D. I feel like it's a travesty to what it is.
And I don't know. I've seen a lot of people use D&D Beyond at the table, show up with their laptops or their tablets. So we can move into this digital age, which is good for the people that they're trying to draw in. This younger generation, which has exploded into the TTRPG game space. So there's that. But with their push to go full digital, a lot of what they're talking about is building their own like tabletop type simulator online for people to use, which again, sure, if you can make it work and I don't have to deal with all the bugs that some of the places do, Roll20, and can implement voice in there and just be able to build an adventure for my party, that's great. But if that's my only option and I no longer have my table to sit at, I feel like, one, we wasted weeks building a table. And two, there's just something about sitting around and making an adventure with friends and with people that you are getting to know, and you build lifelong friendships around that table.
Yeah, at the expense of sounding like old man yelling at clouds. I think there is definitely something to be said about keeping these games, or at least elements of these games, true to what their roots are.
Sure.
Right? And I don't want to be the one who says these should never advance or anything like that, but I do think there is a tangible effect on that physical presence at the table. Now, whether or not you have physical books or digital content, I think doesn't matter as much. I think that part is just an accessory to the experience.
Hmm.
But if the goal is eventually to move to where like a digital only platform is the main way to play, and you're talking about online and stuff, I mean, we all went through COVID. We all experienced the boom that happened there with the advancement in voice and video technology and calling. So that's come a long way. But again, I I still, if you've never had the experience of playing around a table with somebody, I do feel like there is a tangible effect that happens in that environment.
And to be clear, we have ran distance games
Yeah.
where we've got people all over the place in other states, out to California, South Dakota, Florida. And we've played these games online, and a lot of the tools that you have online are fantastic. And by no means am I saying don't develop a better mousetrap for that.
Yeah.
But what it sounds like they want to do is to go full digital and then stop with the books and the physical products that they're making. And I just feel like that might be a mistake, at least until our generation dies off, right? Our community is not known for really accepting change, especially at our age level. So maybe you give it a couple more years. I don't know.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see where it goes. This by far is probably on the scale of things that Hasbro has done from good to bad. This is definitely more towards the middle than sending the Pinkertons to somebody's house. So
not letting it go, baby.
But I do want to see exactly what their plans are. Right. What exactly are they envisioning when they make statements like that? What does that look like for the game's future?
I'll tell you what does not help the game's future is when you send brand new copies of the 2024 Player's Handbook out to people that you know have YouTube channels, content creators. We didn't get one. We're working on that. Probably not going to if they listen to any of our episodes. But they send it out to people who have YouTube channels. And these people, there was an embargo, I think, until middle August. I think it was Gen Con was the embargo was lifted. And they started making content on it saying, hey, look at the things that are changing. Here's the things we think they're doing right. Here's the things that we think they're doing wrong. And Wizards of the Coast like hit their YouTube channels with copyright violation.
Yeah.
Like you are getting free press here. I don't understand what they do sometimes. I feel like since they've been bought by Hasbro, there are so many levels of just corporate red tape BS that maybe half of their organization doesn't know what the other half is doing.
It's very possible. That's always the fear when a larger company buys a smaller company.
And it is going to be hard, I would say near impossible, for there to be a big enough boycott of D&D and Wizards to have any effect.
Especially at this point.
So many people have come into this hobby because of D&D, and they're not really interested in another system.
Yeah, I feel like we are quickly reaching a point where tabletop role-playing games and D&D are synonymous.
Yeah.
Almost in the way where how we colloquially call certain brands the product or certain products by the brand, like Kleenexes, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows what you're talking about, but at the end of the day, that is a brand.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like we are quickly reaching a point where that becomes the way with Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, absolutely. Critical Role, Dimension 20, they got big because of the D&D rule set. Now they're branching out with some of their own and some different rules and different systems, but that's where it started.
I do think, though, that the community has a voice, even with the large ship that Wizards and Hasbro is. You can see it in when the SRD rule changes came out, and with the way there was such a huge reaction and backlash to that. I feel like that in those instances, it is still important to voice when we see that there are problems with the company, no matter how big they are, right? Because enough people voicing enough concerns or outright outrage about it was enough to make those changes happen.
The Hadozi incident, the allegations of them taking advantage of creators, especially female and creators from marginalized communities. There's been a lot that definitely is a lot worse than what we're talking about now. But like you said, because they are becoming the face of the TTRPG community, because they are becoming the doorway that so many people are coming through, I feel like we have a responsibility as a community to rise up and deal with problems to make sure that everybody's having a seat at the table and that nobody is ruining what we love, especially because of corporate greed, snakes and lattes. And we make sure that this is going to be the community that we want it to be.
Absolutely.
Unionize, walk out, let them hear your voice. Whatever we need to do, we're gamers solving problems. It's our shtick. It's one of the best parts of what we do here. Honestly, the last 2 trips to Gen Con, our last trip up to PAX, was really good because of relationships that we had made doing this.
Yeah, we really enjoy all the different people that we get to meet. Again, because we focus on this community being what it is, right? There are people from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, all coming together to enjoy this same hobby. So it's awesome when we get to meet other people, especially designers or other people involved in the hobby, and bring them on so that we get to talk to them and, of course, share them with you guys.
Then you get to listen to us talk to them. So today we've got Chris from Moon Saga Workshop. Chris, hey, welcome to the Dapper Meeple.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Tell us about you, because one thing that we've always been fascinated with is the game design side of this. We meet a lot of engineers or former engineers in that one. So tell us about you, because obviously you're designing a game. So what else do you do down in Huntsville, Alabama?
Yep. Yeah, you would have guessed it. Engineer.
Called it, baby.
Yeah. So I started off as a software engineer here in Huntsville, Alabama, working with the DoD, and then transitioned, went a couple places, and eventually I landed a spot at a steel mill as a process automation engineer. So basically, it's innovation at all times to keep the steel mill rolling and making as much money as they possibly can. If there's something for safety, that's something that I implement or do. Right now, I'm working on a scrap management project that has the potential to save billions of dollars a year. So it feels pretty cool to be like the full project manager on that, just because I was like, hey, I think I can do this. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different than the typical software engineer stuff. I would say, aside from being in the game industry, it would be like the perfect job for me. I get to use my brain in unique ways every day. So
yeah, my job is a day-to-day, here's a problem, go figure that out. And it definitely keeps things interesting. And it also makes it, I think that playing board games has a huge impact on your troubleshooting ability and just being able to look at problems from different angles, which has been huge, I know, with my job trying to do something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, they go hand in hand realistically. That's why we see a lot of engineers in it, because we do have the creation side, but we also have the troubleshooting side. And part of that is just problem solving, and making games is just coming up with solutions to problems you never had.
I love that the game community, we make new problems to solve. It's a good time.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting way to describe it. But yeah, that completely makes sense. 100%. So when we sent you our pre-interview stuff, we were talking, you mentioned that you have a ton of different hobbies outside of just board gaming. So what are some of your favorites that you enjoy taking up your time with?
I would say that the ones that usually turn some heads is I'm a falconer.
We saw that.
So
yeah, I saw the picture. I was like, I bet that's one of them. That's fantastic.
Yeah, falconry is probably my favorite. Primitive arts and survival skills. I love just being able to live off the land, create traps, start fires with whatever I can, make cordage. I know how to crochet, so I'll just go make some cords or some stuff out of fibers or wool, whatever. And I can make clothing if I wanted to, so that's pretty fun. But with that,
it feels like those two go really hand in hand as well. Falconry and then just primitive skills.
That's like where it all happened. I was trying to look up how to make some traps, and then we were looking up how to make a snake trap, and my buddy found something, and I was like, oh, what is this? To hatch a hawk. Whoa, let me go try to catch a hawk now. And then I learned all about it, and because you have to find a sponsor for it, you can't just get a falconry license, you have to find a sponsor, you have to take this huge exam and everything, and it's not difficult, but it's definitely more knowledge than you would think an average person should know
Sure.
about it.
Yeah,
And, yeah, it took a while to get to that one because I ended up joining the Air Force, and then that took years because I got stationed in Italy, so I couldn't do that, obviously. And then I got back to the United States, and I found a sponsor here where I'm staying at in Alabama now, and it just worked out. It was really awesome.
Yeah, we saw the picture. Like we said, we just do a general Google search when we have guests coming on, and we were looking at it, was like, is he on a damn Falcon? It's like, how long have you been doing it now?
Oh man. So I was involved with it as far back as I believe 2010. And then I officially got my license, I believe, sometime in about 2016. So I've had several birds, red-tailed hawks. I've had some owls. So
oh wow, yeah,
pretty cool.
So I've seen just videos of doing the training on them where you've got the spin, the lead for them that they go after, or do you guys actually? Or do you guys actually are they using for actual hunting, or is it still just?
So there's several reasons for the lures, depending on the type of bird you have as well, because they hunt differently. So typically with falcons, I won't say all of them, but usually they'll hover above and they'll circle and they'll wait for their prey to jump out of the water or something like that. So using a lure emulates that whole process. So when they come down striking to get it, you have to swing it to make them use their agility and help them become better, because part of the sport is to help them get past their first year of survival.
Yeah.
So they can survive in the wild, and by you honing their skills, it allows them to do that. But the secondary utility on that is also an emergency tool, because they see that lure, they know that, hey, there's for sure going to be food on this thing. So if there's, what do you call it, the upward columns of wind pushing them up, the heat rising and everything, you can have your bird just soar away for miles and miles, and then you'll lose your bird. And sometimes that could be dangerous, and usually if they have their equipment on, it could even be more dangerous. And once they see that food, they're like, okay, let me go get that thing.
Right.
They grab that food, you hook them up, and then you put them to safety. So that's also another thing for it.
That might be the coolest, other than board gaming hobby, that we've had on the show.
Yeah, I think that one definitely takes the cake. So let's talk about what we like to call like geek bona fide. So how did you get into board gaming? How did you get into the hobby? What brought you into this sort of geek sphere?
Oh man, you want the long story?
Oh yeah, give it to us, dude.
All right. So it started off with video games, actually.
Yes.
So back in 2012, I went to go visit one of my buddies at his office, and he was learning how to code. And I was like, what are you doing, dude? I'm learning how to make games. Like, okay, that's pretty cool, but why? Because my brother made one, and he's already made millions of dollars. I was like, oh man,
right,
I'm going to learn how to make games. So I got into it and started learning programming, and ultimately I published a game on the Play Store, and it took an incredible amount of work, because it's not just coding, it's not just making a game. Like, you have all these different aspects that you have to consider: the artwork, the animation, the sounds, and honestly it's very overwhelming. So anybody who can do it alone, making video games like Stardew Valley, I forgot his name right now, but that dude, was it Baron or something like that? That dude is incredible. Like, how do you do that, especially something that scale? So massive props to that. But I eventually I love the tactile nature of making games, so let me just stick to that, because I truly enjoy just iterating process and doing that. So one of the games I was working on making video games was this color mixing game called Color Cannons, and you kind of a puzzle where you shoot the colors, and then like they mix, and then they get into the goals and stuff. And I made prototypes with physical prototype stuff just to feel it out programmed, and I was like, I like doing this. Let me just do this. So I stuck to it, and eventually that's how I started making games, some board games. So I made a couple before Parks and Potions, which used to be a different themed game about painting houses.
Okay.
So it's just kind of a long story there, but it's how it happened.
Were you into board gaming at all before you started, or have you gotten more into it before? Yeah.
No, I loved board games, but I guess because of the situation I was in, and like the people I hung around with, it wasn't a thing that anybody really wanted to do.
Yeah.
They'd be willing to try like Dungeons and Dragons. Like back in 2007 through 2011, there were some games, there weren't a lot, but there were some games, and people were typically just playing like Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
So that's all they wanted to play. And then I remember when I got back to the States, I was playing Ancient World, and people didn't want to play, but I had some coworkers that one of them bought it, and he brought it to work, and we'd play that. So I was like, oh yes, I got a couple people. So it started growing. I really started getting more into the hobby then, and I wasn't necessarily making games then or board games at that point, but it really started inspiring me. Okay, so there are people who play them.
Right.
I can do this. I can make them, and I want to do it. And I started showing them stuff, and we just started building and designing together a little bit.
Nice. I do know from personal experience that, yeah, a lot of the game geek types that are military, a lot of them are more TTRPG focused. And I know some of that for us was you can only pack so much stuff. I look at our game room now and all of the board games that we have, and I'm not fitting that anywhere I'm deploying. Yeah, that's fair. We would have stuff like, what was it, Boss Monster? Little small games that we took out with us. And then when I was stationed on shore duty, I had one shop that they would they had an entire drawer full of games that they would play over on the night watch. So yeah, but a lot of them are TTRPGs. Totally understand that. And that's actually how I came to the hobby. The same way. Started out over there and then got back, and Josh was our board game, or my board game inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah, the only games I played over there I think was Catan, Can't Stop, and there's got to be something else. I just can't. Agricola, that was it.
Yeah.
That was as bad as we got.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about Parks and Potions that you're developing now or have developed and play testing, about to send it to Kickstarter. Give us the elevator pitch on it.
You are all playing the roles of park rangers using botanical alchemy to heal wildlife. It plays 1 to 5 players in about 15 to 30 minutes, and it's ages 8 and up. The main mechanic of the game is color mixing, so you go out to forage and you find flowers to pull their potions, and you use a mixing mechanic to optimize your inventory board to heal your animals and perform experiments.
We had, like we said, got a chance to take a look at this one. And one of the things that we love is like components that are done really well. We're horrible for buying the upgraded components. Don't put metal coins in your game. It's costing me too much.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that when we got to break this out and play it, the components, the potions, the pieces for those were really fantastic. For people that are listening that know us, like when I tell you they were really nice components, it was like they were plastic. There's a word for this.
Acrylic?
Yeah, thank you. The potions were like acrylic with the colors on them, just well made enough that it was just like, oh, this is still the demo copy, and this looks really good. So that was my first impression opening the box when we went out and played it.
Yeah, so we actually, Chris and I had this conversation. I don't know if you remember, Chris, because you probably talked with 1,000 people at Gen Con, but that was one of the things that I told you was it reminded me of Spellbook from Phil Walker Harding. And you said, yeah, that was exactly the inspiration that you were looking for. And you had mentioned that the pieces that we were playing with, you might be looking at a different version of those for the final copy. Did you ever get those where you wanted them?
Yeah, I believe the version that you've seen had they're acrylic, but they had like a crazy amount of bleed on them for no reason.
Right.
If you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, so we got that straightened out. The idea was to make these potion bottles look like potion bottles.
Right.
Yeah.
If I can make them round and have all the colors in them, that would be really, really cool. But the problem with doing that is that I wanted to make sure there was accessibility on them. And if you remember the tags on there, they had the accessibility icons. So making them round made that much less accessible, and that's the reason why I went for the flat acrylics. But they still look great, and I try to make them look like the little bottles, like the double layered with the liquid inside and everything.
Yeah, and they do. Like they were easy to work as well. In the game, like you said, you're getting different potions, and part of it is trying to mix them. And there was the card that you mix these potions to get this one, and then you need those potions to actually complete what you're building down here. Visually, it was easy for me. I know me and the girlfriend, visual design is just there. It's just horrid in the real world. So especially getting a game that was that easy to look at the card, and I was like, oh, I can figure out exactly what I need to do. I really appreciate that. Like I said, those were really nice. So you said it started out as, was it house painting or?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just saying, as somebody who is in that business of selling paint to people, if you ever decide to go that route again, I might be able to get in front of some people at some Sherwin-Williams stores. I'm just saying.
Nice.
We'll give you some color swatches to help out. It'll be great.
Yeah.
It'll
No
be
problems.
great, man.
Got this.
Nice.
So-
cross promotion with Sherman Williams.
There you go. Hey, you tell Papa Sherman we're making him money right here.
I'm just saying, I think we've done crazier in the past couple of years. You know what I'm saying?
We're going to get a sponsor one way or another, man.
Or a cease and desist.
Yeah, one of the two. So how long have you been designing this? Because I know this is a process.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a process. So I started it back in, I believe, 2019, 2018, sometime around there. And I went to Tennessee Game Days and debuted it there as a roll and write kind of game. And slowly but surely, it started to fall away from some of the components that inspired it originally. And it started to develop into this not so much roll and write anymore.
Right.
And then COVID hit. And I had some great feedback at the time already, so I was already getting ready to iterate on a big change. And COVID things happened, everything went on the back burner. Made some friends on Twitter, tried to keep it going there with some virtual stuff, and then it just fell off. So from there, I think I picked it back up in 2020, like right after COVID. Yeah, it just so happened. I didn't go, oh, COVID's over, let me do this. It just worked out that way.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I've been trying to get this for so long. So I would say the time frame was probably about 2 solid years of work on it. And I think the hardest part was finding an artist, because I didn't want to just have any artist.
Yeah.
And also, to my fault, I didn't want to just hire an artist. I wanted to have an artist as a partner because I enjoy working with people. But trying to find a partner in general is hard, and trying to find a specific partner was even harder. So there was a little bit of delay on that. And even now, like towards the final stages, we have 4 different game modes right out of the box. They work well. They're fun. We've play tested and people love them. And even now, we're still doing development on it. So co-op mode, for example, I had people who loved it and didn't even care that there was like tension during certain points. Other people were like, it's too easy. So I'm like, should I just make it a little hard and then let them still enjoy it? Give them no handicaps at all? Some of the solo mode challenges, that's still in development. If I can get some more solo players, solo testers to check that out. But the feedback on it has been pretty solid. They enjoy it. So yeah, it's been a long time. As you can see, I'm still working on it, and I have 2 weeks to Kickstarter, and not even 2 weeks, like a little over a week now. So
Yeah. So who is your artist?
His name's Alan Gomez. He's a Brazilian artist.
Okay, cool. This is actually the first complete game that you've got out. It sounds like you've got a lot of starters for number 2. But so this is the first one that the workshop is putting out then.
Yep, it's going to be the first one officially putting out. The feedback has been phenomenal on it, so it's a no-brainer to finally get it out there and give it some good art. And I think the way I described it to Alan through the process, we wanted to create a more tangible fantasy, something that wasn't too obvious, and I think he nailed it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I will say that was one of the things that really stuck out to me was the art, especially the way that when you look at the animals, like you can tell there's something wrong, but it's almost subtle at first until you start to really look and see like the different things on them. So that was one of the things that stuck out to me when we first were breaking it out of the box and putting it down to play. I thought that, with the theming and now knowing like your background with the connection to nature and the other hobbies that you enjoy 100% makes sense. And I feel like it really came through for sure.
I didn't even think about that being my design in that game. But okay, that's weird. I didn't, but all right.
Hey man, we get it. It's hard to see when you're in the trees, man. Yeah.
Yep.
Believe us, we have plenty of things where people come up to us and they'll be like, "Oh, hey, this makes sense why you do this," and we're like, "Oh, yeah, it does. That's exactly how we planned it." High five. Yeah.
Nice.
So totally get that. So you are launching the Kickstarter now. We have had people, like I said, the BA Games guys. When we met them, that was when they were doing their getting ready to start their second Kickstarter. No, it's right after. It was right after
they just
Cult.
finished up Cult. Yep.
So do you have anybody else? So this is your first foray into the crowdfunding. Are you getting anybody that's, try this, or any good lessons learned from anybody?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would not be doing this if I wasn't confident in the advice that I've been getting from different publishers and just in general people in the community. Just to give you an idea of the time frame that I was out. Interesting enough, when I first met Ed and Sam, it was before COVID and before they launched Cult of the Deep. And then I came back to the scene after they had launched Forges of Ravenshire, about 2 months after it finished. I was like, how did I miss your game?
I think that they learned a lot through their first run through, which is always great when you learn how to do something better. It's even better when you learn it from somebody else that had to go through it. So,
yeah, that's been a great help. I know Sam has made himself available to me quite a bit, and I appreciate it so much, because even as simple as, hey man, how do I reach out to reviewers? Like, how do I find them? Or what should I be thinking about when I'm talking to manufacturers? What manufacturer should I be talking to? What are the questions that I don't know?
Right.
Yeah.
And he's been a great help with that. And then I got some friends over at Tangerine Games. They just did their Kickstarter with Peaks.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian Bammer and Brandon Omi, they're just great people. I'm glad I met them. Working through Launch Boom has actually been a huge like networking component to so far, like what I've been doing. And there's tons and tons of people in there who are always sharing information about what they did good, what they did bad. They're even sharing numbers like, hey, this is how many people we had following at this time, and I think it would be better if like we were more engaging with them, or what should my messaging look like? How do I accomplish this and that? So between the personal connections I have and then just like this group of people who are dedicated to their craft and the business of the whole craft, I'm so confident in moving forward with what I want to do with this career.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And something that we love about this community is we got to get to see behind the curtain a little bit. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody from the game developer side, from people that are making games and actively being in this community, like they're not like hiding anything from anybody else. If there's somebody new that comes up, they're like, oh yeah, try this. This is what we did. It didn't work. Do it this way. Or like you said, when you start talking like they're giving numbers out, like they're like, yeah, we don't care. There's plenty of pie. Everybody can succeed. So I'm sure that helps out with being confident that this is what you want to do and this is the right way to go about it.
Oh yeah. It's interesting, like when you first start off, and I don't want anybody to steal my idea. I don't want to share it with anybody. And then you get to the point to where if you're not sharing your idea, it doesn't matter.
Right?
Yeah.
Everybody's sharing it. Everybody knows you sent that message on whatever day on Twitter.
Yeah.
We know.
So your studio, do you have plans after this? Is it let's see how this goes and then we'll see which plans we put in place? Or are you the type that's already, oh yeah, in 3 years, I'll have these 2 games already done? Like, how's that working out for you?
So it's obviously been a struggle with trying to juggle my very first full campaign, managing most of everything myself. I've been trying to find outsourcing things that I could, like fulfillment services and different things like that. And it's given me the opportunity to think about different plans. If I super succeed, if I hit my goal, and then if I fail, I have different paths that I want to go, but they generally all involve me continue on what I'm doing. I see failure as just part of the process. So if I failed, it's because either something I did or something out of my control, and either way, there's a next step for that. So within the next couple of years, and especially even next year, I do plan to launch several games, whether that be straight to print, maybe doing some convention stuff, or working with retailers or consolidators. I have my head in the clouds a little bit, but I'm doing it with knowing that I have to put the pedal to the metal.
Sure.
I have to really try. And I think part of that networking is helping tremendously. Being able to offer a variety of products, even if some of them fail. I'm perfectly willing to take a loss if it means that I can learn the industry. But most importantly, I want to get games out there. Like, I want to see a game and go, dude, that's a game I want to get out there. Let me go ahead and sign that, and we can put it out within the next 6 months. I know that some of these goals might be unrealistic for the majority of publishers, but I want to do that. Like, I've talked to some designers that are scared to sign with certain publishers because they're like, we'll sign and it'll be 3 years before they publish my game. But dude, I'm not just going to have 20 people who are signed and eventually get to one. I want to be like, look, these next 2 games are going to be small box games.
Right.
All right, I got you. We're going to work on these in tandem, and we can be part of it however you want to work out the contract details. And then I'll have one that I'll probably launch on Kickstarter. And that's what I'll do, like maybe 1 or 2 Kickstarters a year, if that's even... I want to get away from the Kickstarter model. I want to do more like Stonemeyer, be able to just, here's a pre-order, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, that's what I'm focusing on, is building a community of people who know that I put out replayability and quality into a game where it's not just going to hit the table once. Because as gamers, dude, we buy a game just because it looks good and we leave it on the shelf.
Yeah.
And the average number of times a game gets played is 1. So if I can get the average to be 2 for my brand, that's my goal, is at least 2. I want replayability in there.
I think that's a really good understanding of gamers, first of all. We have a shelf of shame. I'll admit it.
Look, man, we didn't bring you on to call us out like that.
Yeah, right? Ouch. I feel attacked. This is where we end the interview. So it's you. So you and your artist on this game. You're a one-man operation over at Moon Saga then right now.
Aside from having a bunch of advisors, yeah, it's just me.
That's got to be huge. Just that feeling.
Yeah, 100%. Since we've delved a little bit more into the hobby, we've of course kicked around the idea of what would it be like if we could design our own game and what that would look like. I believe we came to the conclusion we have enough trouble making a podcast. I don't know if game design is really in our wheelhouse. But I can only imagine you talk about community and how important it is to you. I think that's really the core of this whole hobby, right? Like the way that you describe it, from the help that you're getting from that side of it, even the way that we talk about all the time where we've experienced it. I just think it's really cool to be a part of something like that. Because at the end of the day, like you said, whatever happens, there's always steps to take or lessons to learn. But I think for a designer, like, how cool is it to stand back and go, hey, that's mine, right? I made that game. All the sweat and tears and whatever else that went into it, that all came from what you did and the advice that you were able to take and filter and make it happen. And I think that's awesome. I think it's a really cool place to be. And I'm glad that this hobby lives up on that side of it, on the designer side, as much as we've experienced it even on our side.
Yeah. So with all the stuff that's going on, COVID and figuring out your design and stuff, figuring out how to get it into production, do you have one single, this has been the biggest challenge I've had to overcome?
Finding an artist.
Was that it?
Yeah, that's probably the hardest thing. What I've experienced is that, and this could be mostly my fault, is a lot of artists don't want to work on a project that isn't complete, I guess you can say, because they don't want to make changes to things that they've already created. And finding somebody who is willing to just do something on the fly has not been easy. That's been the biggest hurdle. That's why I wanted a partner who is an artist, because they enjoy the process of it, not just let me just do this and make my money and get out real quick.
Oh yeah. They've got some skin in the game now, and yeah, he's in there with you on it. So when does Parks and Potions Kickstarter launch?
September 24th is the date that we have locked in now. Things may happen, but that's what we got locked.
Okay. We actually got the cards that you had made at Gen Con. We had a QR code to scan. Other people that are interested in finding you and finding out where they can sign up to get notifications, where would they go?
So they can just go directly to the Kickstarter page on search Parks and Potions. They can find it there. There's also a link in the profile there that can send you to the pre-reservation page. It's like you can just sign up there to get the notifications, or we also have an offer until launch date, which can get you the promo pack of Bugs and Bottles, which is a micro expansion. So yeah, that's the place they can look, or you can look at anything of the social tags at Moon Saga WS.
Okay.
And we're always engaging.
Awesome. I think that's the way to do it. Usually a big key to success. And like for people that are listening, again, the copy that we got to play with was like a demo copy, and it was good. The components were good. The gameplay itself worked out really well. We had a couple of questions like you do playing through the game for the first time, but then they made sense and we stopped cheating.
Funny, the pesky rules.
Silly rules. But yeah, we had a great time playing it. And that's why when Josh told me, he was like, hey, Chris said, you want to come talk to us? And I was like, oh, awesome. I should have thought about that. But again, I was playing Uber for our group. But yeah, man, we were excited to have you on just to tell us like how you got here and where this game is coming from. You said you do have some plans for later on, but we're just waiting to see what's going to come next. So your Kickstarter kicks off on the 24th. Is it 30 days? If you can't tell, Josh is the brains of this operation. Days, yeah. I just show up as the talent. Yeah. I'm the face. That's what I do. So
sorry.
This game's coming out. We'll definitely make sure we share this when the episode comes out, and we'll make sure that it's on our socials too, so people can go find it. We're definitely excited about it and hoping this goes really well. Is there anything else that you want to tell people about? Anything else that you wanted to talk about that we might have missed? Like, kind of the floor is yours, man.
One thing you guys mentioned about the community, I really am very hardcore about creating a community of people who are not just tied to the brand or anything like that, but people who care about other designers, other publishers, other artists, other illustrators, people in marketing or whatever it may be. So the Discord that I'm building, I love to have people in there. We always have some kind of engagement going on with people play testing their games in there, because if we can bring all these people in the industry together and actually talking about these things with eyes on from different publishers or whatever, maybe I don't pick it up, but there's other publishers in there too. And if they see that, they can get picked up. But on top of that, I'm also expanding some of my community outreach and I will be offering here in the near future some board game design camps completely free for just people in the community, just to engage with them and give them components. I'll give them their whole design kit, teach them how to make a game from the ground up, and sometimes we might even have competitions or whatever. But I truly want to inspire and bring about a good community.
That's fantastic. I've never thought about something like that, but I think that's a fantastic idea. And I'm sure you've got a lot of, I've learned this my first time through, to get people to make more games. This industry is huge and it's just gotten bigger, and there's plenty of room and there's plenty of people out there. We tell them all the time, as the people that we've had on, hey, if you've got an idea, man, make it. This community will find it. If you're going to make cool stuff, do it. And some just need that little push, and that could be awesome. Dude, that sounds fantastic. I'm excited to hear about where that goes in the next year or two.
Absolutely.
And getting to see more people, and we'll get a much bigger group every time we go to con. So the Friday night parties are just going to get better. It's fantastic. I'm down.
Oh yeah.
I'm down. So
almost burning down a house. Were you there for that? Man.
Remember, if you're a Gen Con, come hang out, man. It's going to be wild for all you listening. So awesome. Hey, Chris, thank you for just taking a little bit of time to come talk to us. Like I said, we always love having guests on. We appreciate it, man. We appreciate finding out about you and what makes you tick and what makes you put this together for the rest of the world, and even helping to inspire the next person that's going to put together a game for us. So really appreciate you coming on and talking to us, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Caution. Content's hot. All you got. Caution. Content's hot. You get to give me all you got.
All right, guys, you know it. You love it. It's our first crowdfunding roundup here of our new season. Today, we got 3 awesome projects. One of them is an expansion for a game that we absolutely love. One of them's a really fun, light card engine building game. And then lastly, we have a new table that honestly, the price point is what sold me on it.
We've done a couple of tables, and I like this. We'll get there. But let's start out with Fate of Witches.
Yeah, so Fate of Witches is the coven building card game. In it, you take the role of a witch trying to build out your coven, luring unsuspecting villagers, fattening them up, and then, of course, sacrificing them to your own hens.
As witches are wont to do, all the while trying to avoid the witch hunter and his dog that the village has called in.
Yeah, and of course, the one fate that all witches try to avoid, that is being burned at the stake. So this one looks really interesting. I like the artwork. That was the first thing that drew me into it. But then the fact that it is a engine building and combo game, it is a new take to me on using this theme, right? So there have been a lot of games that use witches and witchcraft themes. There's actually a really cool solo game that I got my eye on to take a look at. So it looks really cool in the way that everything comes together. The campaign touts it as easy to learn and quick to set up, and it talks about the replayability because it is a card-based game.
Right.
So every game is going to be a little bit different no matter what, just because of the way the cards come out.
And you look at it, there's 72 character cards, another 16 of the item cards, 16 of the event cards, which have a huge impact on just how replayable and how different each playthrough is going to be. So let's talk about levels.
So yeah, this one's really easy. There are only 2 pledge levels. You either get 1 box of the Fate of Witches, or you get 2 boxes of the Fate of Witches. So for 1 box, it's going to cost you about $35. They do, of course, ship anywhere in the world. It gives you a copy of the full game and the 10-card mini expansion, Witches Runes.
The second one is, again, 2 boxes for about $69.
So they're looking at delivery in November of next year, so a little over a year. That's about pretty standard for Kickstarters. Currently, the Kickstarter campaign is almost funded. It's about $2,500 off of its goal, but it still has 25 days to go as of time of recording. So this is definitely one. Check it out. Like I said, the artwork for me is very interesting. It definitely looks different. And I think the engine building aspect with that theme is also something that's unique. So take a look at this one, watch the video, go through the Kickstarter, see if it's maybe something for you.
Next up, we have had such a blast with Heroes of Arcadia. Like, everything about that game was just fun. From the you can drink while you're playing aspect to the fact that all of the pieces in the game are waterproof, because if you're losing really badly, you might make a mess. Basically what it is, a tile laying dungeon exploration type game where your character is represented by a glass or a cup that has your character on it. You fill it for your hit points, and then as you take damage, you drink. It's been a blast. It's been out for, what, a year and a half, 2 years now. We got the original box set. We also got the expansion that came out with 2 extra characters. And now they're bringing out their first real expansion, which is Heroes of Arcadia, Heroes for Hire.
So this adds a few more new characters, as well as some other kind of additional upgrades with monsters. And there's this new Die of Barcane Chaos, which adds this randomness element to the game, which I think is going to be interesting. So we've gotten this one to the table a few times. And of course, there is always randomness because of how the tiles come out. But this adds a little bit more because you roll this die, and then depending on what symbol pops up on the die, it gives you the option to do an action. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but it's one of those kind of really randomness factors to spice up the gameplay.
And they did it really well. Like, the Die of Barcane Chaos is die cast is what it looks like. And there's also the fabric scroll that lets you track when the die is going to go off, when you'll have to roll it, and also what the different symbols on the die mean. A lot of fun. You also get 4 new characters with a possible 5th add-on, if you would like. The 4 characters that come up are Big Swig, the Buzz Killer, Sipjin, the Drunken Fist, Entrepriel, the Alchemist, who is a centaur, and Drom, which looks like Groot's little brother, obviously a druid. So, and Drom comes with Gulp, his frog companion. Digging it all the way through, right? As an add-on, you can also pick up the Voodoo Ranger, which obviously is sponsored by Voodoo Ranger Brewing. Feel like this episode's got a lot of beer in it.
Did we plan it? You'll never know. But yeah, this one looks like a really fun pickup. We were talking about, of course, getting it along with the glasses.
Oh, yes, the add-ons. Yeah. So when you get the game, it does come with plastic cups. They're very well done. They're great. They do what they're supposed to do. But you know how we are with add-ons, and they make actual pint glasses for the original game and the add-on, and then this expansion. So if you want to spend more money, they've got plenty of options for you.
I will say the Roll a Crit booth too every year at Gen Con is always cool. Just the general like way it looks, but also they usually sponsor the main Gen Con pins. So you can usually find those there at their booth. But yeah, so let's talk about some of the rewards tiers and how to get them. So the first tier that we have that is not for just retailers is the Heroes for Hire set. So that comes in at $50. That comes with the 4 new Heroes for Hire. So you can add those in there. Each one comes with its own plastic health bar cup, the D20, their signature move card, and 3 power-up cards. So these are just expansions, though, so you have to have the original base game to play with them. It doesn't have all the dungeon tiles and everything like that. So the next tier then is going to add the Die of Barcane Chaos. So you get the 4 new heroes and you get the die for $75.
After that, there is the Mercenary Bundle, which gives you all of the stuff from the top 2 bundles. You also get the Classic Kickstarter card pack, which includes the Kickstarter exclusive cards from the first Heroes of Arcadia, as well as the Do-It-Yourself House Rule Booster Pack cards, where you can basically write your own rules for the game. And then the loot card booster pack. This one's great if you ended up having to get the retail copy of Heroes of Arcadia and you missed the Kickstarter. You can fill in that gaping hole in your soul by going ahead and upgrading that.
So then we have the next bundle, which is the Barcadian Brewmaster. This is their all-in bundle. So this will get you the Heroes of Arcadia retail edition with the party pack, which was the extra 2 characters from the first one. Then it also gets you all of the new stuff that was just in the last set, and that comes in at about $180. So that's the last pack that they have together. But then, of course, there are tons of add-ons that you can get put on here. Everything from just bits and pieces out of the different packs to the actual like pint glasses, if that's what you're looking for. There are even different coins and stuff like that. So a lot of really cool stuff that you can add on to this on top of just the regular packs.
Right. Additional power-ups. I want the Monster Room Pegasus. Yeah. It's just what you're thinking. Those are already unlocked. The Heroes for Hire glass set, again, we talked about as an add-on. The Sword of Revealment. So one thing that we had a problem with, and apparently so did a lot of people, was flipping over these tiles.
Yep.
It's a little suction cup on the end of a little plastic sword. Now, we had a handful of them handed to us from the booth, and I would just like to say these things work, and it's awesome.
Yeah, they're fantastic. So this is definitely one to take a look at if you have the first version of Heroes of Arcadia and are interested in maybe adding a few more characters to it, or if maybe you've never ventured into the Heroes of Arcadia and are looking to go all in with the whole set, this Kickstarter is definitely for you. So it is fully funded. It still has 23 days to go, so it really just hit Kickstarter. So there's plenty of time to get in on this and decide where you want to fall when it comes to this project.
All right, and last up, we promised you a table. We got you a table. The new AVO, the next generation of board game table.
Yeah, so this one kind of caught my eye. We, of course, love tables. We've built our own. We've built one now, 2-ish. But this one, what stuck out to me most was the pricing. So we've talked about, of course, Wormwood tables, and then you have, of course, a lot of the other name brands that are out there.
Right, the Weatherden, Rhett Skeller.
Yeah, Carolina game tables. But a lot of times for a lot of people, the price can be a little prohibitive when it comes to having a designer game table or even a table that is just strictly for games. What this company does is they have a table that looks really nice, has a really like modern, sleek appeal, but the price point on it comes in a lot less than what those other tables do.
So a couple of the features that this one comes with, first of all, they look really nice. They also have a topper on them, so you can use it for more than just a game table. There's also like a rail system that is underneath where you can take some of the accessories like the cup holders, a wine glass holder. There's one for even poker chips you can put underneath it, and it magnetizes in a groove underneath the table, so it keeps things out of the way like you're moving your arms. I don't want to brag, but our table has cup holders below the arm level.
Yeah, this is a feature that a lot of the table manufacturers have been doing. This magnetized rail or like accessory rail, some of them call it, which I think helps keep the table like nice and sleek for most occasions, but also allows you that flexibility for cup holders and all that good stuff. Overall, this table looks really cool. I think one of my favorite parts is the little animated GIF where it's got 4 guys walking around the edge of the table on top of it, just showing the craftsmanship and the strength of the table. So they say it can hold up to 400 kilograms, which in freedom units is a little over 800 pounds.
Yeah, 880. Now, they are walking around the edge of it. I don't think the center is going to hold that, so don't get carried away sitting in your table.
Yeah, don't like WWE somebody through the table or anything. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, again, this table looks very sleek. They have some color options and things like that too that look very interesting. But let's talk about price point, right? Because this is where I feel like I was sold on like wanting to talk about this table. So the first options that we have are their small table, also their coffee table. They're the same size. The coffee table is just shorter.
Right.
Those two come in at $419. So when I say small, we're talking 53 inches by about 45 inches. So somewhere right in that neighborhood. Nice little 4-player table set up. There's enough space for that on there. But $419 is a really good price for what I would put to say something like kind of a designer game table.
Yeah, absolutely. Just listen to him talk about the rails. I'm just saying, watch the video.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell that the designer and manufacturer of this too cares a lot about the product in just the way that they not only present it, but also with the videos and stuff they have throughout the Kickstarter page. So moving up to the next size they have, which is a medium-sized table, it is about 70 inches by, again, 45 inches. So it adds seating for 2 other players, so you can do 4 to 6. This table is only $499. So if you've got the space for it, you're talking $80 for another 20 inches on the table. All right. So again, a lot of tables this size, like if you were to price them out through one of the more designer companies, you're talking $2,000+ easy. So moving up from there, they have 2 other sizes. They have a large size table, which is 88 inches by that 44.5. That comes in at $599. So that will seat 6 to 8 players. And then they have their largest one, which they call their large wide table, which is 88 inches by 57. So almost 6 feet across, or 5 feet across. Sorry, let me read that. Almost 5 feet across for their large wide table. It comes in at $749 for their most expensive table.
Which, again, the pricing on that is fantastic, especially for everything that you're getting on it. You also have to pay a little bit extra if you want the table topper. For the large wide table, it's about $350 to $390, depending on your wood choice. The cup holders and the different accessories that you can get average somewhere between $15 to $20. So you're going to add a little bit more for that. But even with all of that, you're still coming in below most of a lot of the pre-manufactured game tables that are out there.
Yeah, I feel like building ideal table with all the ideal accessories, like even if you went with the largest size, you're probably pushing $1,500 all said and done for everything that you would want off of that. Maybe $2,000 at most if you went a little crazy in the accessory pile. But even then, like, that's crazy to me to be able to get a table that is that large, first and foremost, because you're talking almost 8 foot by 5 foot
of table.
Of table, which is huge. Plus all the accessories, plus toppers, all that sort of stuff for under $2,000. Like, that's a really awesome price.
Right.
So definitely something to take a look at. If you were in the market for a table, they are actually looking at shipping in January.
So it's coming up. If you get in on this and they fund it, it's coming soon.
Yeah. So the way they are planning this is based on your backer number is the way that they are manufacturing the tables. So currently, as of time of recording, they have 9 backers on this project, right? So you could be backer number 10.
That's right. 30 days to go, but I wouldn't think about it too long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So this project literally just kicked off. So there's still plenty of time to take a look at it and jump in on it, especially if you are in the market for a table. This is one I would definitely consider. No matter what size you're looking for, I think this one might fit the bill for a lot of different people, especially ones who maybe the price points have seemed a little prohibitive for some of the more known table manufacturers.
All right. And with that,
Geppetto, the puppet master, closes in on the final victims. His puppets have the location surrounded.
The terror card resolves, and he eliminates the victim, sending him into a bloodlust.
Beaten and bloodied, Charlie has no hope of defeating Geppetto now.
One last swing with her axe, trying to defeat the puppet master, comes up short of the mark.
Geppetto's puppets swarm the final girl, defeating her and ending the game. For the Dapper Meeple, I'm Josh.
And I'm Jim.
Good night, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for sticking around and listening to our show.
If you enjoyed it, let me ask you a favor. Follow us and leave a like wherever you get your podcasts. It'll really help us out.
And if you have anything to say back to us, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for the Dapper Meeple. Or you can email us at dappermeeplegaming@gmail.com.
And as always, we'll save you a seat at the table.